子路 Chapter 13 1. 子路问政。子曰：先知，劳之，请益。曰：无倦。A disciple of Confucius inquired how conduct the government of country. Confucius answered, Go before the people with your example, show them your exertion. The disciple asked for something more. Be indefatigable in that. Replied Confucius. 2. 仲弓为季氏载，问政。子曰：先有司，设小过，举贤才。曰：焉知贤才而举之？曰：举而所知，而所不知，人其舍诸。Another disciple, who was in the service of a powerful noble in Confucius' native state, inquired how to conduct the government of the country. Confucius answered, Leave the initiative in the details of government to the responsible heads of the departments. Overlook small shortcomings, and advance men of ability and worth. But, answered the disciple, how am I to know who are men of ability and worth? Advance those. Replied Confucius, whom you already know. There is then to fear that those whom you do not know will be neglected. 3. 子路曰：为君待子而为政，子将西先。子曰：必也正名乎？子路曰：有事哉，子之于也。奚其政？子曰：也哉有也。君子于其所不知，盖缺如也。名不正，则言不顺；言不顺，则事不成；事不成，则礼乐不兴；礼乐不兴，则刑罚不重；刑罚不重，则民无所措手足。故君子明之必可言也，言之必可行也。君子于其言，无所苟而已矣。A disciple, the intrepid Changyu, said to Confucius on one occasion when the reigning prince or a certain state was negotiating for Confucius to enter his service, The prince is waiting, sir, to entrust the government of the country to you. Now what do you consider the first thing to be done? If I must begin, answered Confucius, I would begin by defining the name of things. Oh, really, replied the disciple, but you are too impractical. What has definition or name to do here? Sir, replied Confucius, you have really no manners. A gentleman, when he hears anything he does not understand, will always wait for an explanation. Now, if names of things are not properly defined, words will not correspond to facts. When words do not correspond to facts, it is impossible to perfect anything. Where it is impossible to perfect anything, the arts and institutions of civilization cannot flourish. When the arts and institutions of civilization cannot flourish, law and justice cannot attain their ends. And when law and justice do not attain their ends, the people will be at a loss to know what to do. Therefore a wise and good man can always specify whatever he names. Whatever he can specify, he can carry out. A wise and good man makes it a point always to be exact in the words he uses. Footnotes 63, literally not careless. Confucius here points out, as a characteristic of his time, what the Reverend Mr. Smith in his Chinese characteristics has lately very cleverly pointed out as a characteristic of the Chinese of the present day, namely a want of exactness, which, wherever and whenever it exists, makes it impossible for the arts of civilization to flourish. But the want of exactness in the use of words, we fancy, is not entirely confined to China now. Sinology Chapter 6, Section 23. 4. 樊迟请学驾。子曰：吾不如老农，请学为仆。曰：吾不如老仆。樊迟出。子曰：小人哉，樊须也。上好礼，则民莫敢不敬；上好义，则民莫敢不服；上好信，则民莫敢不用情。夫如是，则四方之民抢父其子而至矣，焉用驾？ A disciple of Confucius requested to be taught farming. Confucius answered, "For that I am not as good as an old farmer." The disciple then asked to be taught gardening. "For that," replied Confucius, "I am not as good as an old gardener." After the disciple had left, Confucius remarked, "What a petty-minded man he is." When the rulers of a country, he then went on to say, encourage education and good manners, the people will never fail in respect. When the rulers encourage the love of justice, the people will never fail in obedience. When the rulers encourage good faith, the people will never fail in honesty. In such case, people from all quarters will flock to that country. What need then has a ruler to know about husbandry? 5. 子曰：宋诗300，授之以政，不达；使于四方，不能专对，虽多，亦奚以为。Confucius remarked, "A man who can recite 300 pieces of poetry by heart, but who, when the conduct of the affairs of a nation is entrusted to him, can do nothing, and who, when sent on a public mission to a foreign country, has nothing to say for himself. Although such a man has much learning, of what use is it?" 6. 子曰：其身正，不令而行；其身不正，虽令不从。Confucius remarked, "If a man is in order in his personal conduct, he will get served even without taking the trouble to give orders. But if a man is not in order in his personal conduct, he may give orders, but his orders will not be obeyed." 7. 子曰：鲁卫之政，兄弟也。Confucius remarked of the state of government of his own state and that of another state in his time. The one is about the same as the other. 8. 子谓魏公子荆，善居士。时有，曰：苟合矣，少有；曰：苟完矣，富有；曰：苟美矣。Confucius remarked of a public character of the time that he was admirable in the way in which he ordered the economy of his home. Confucius said, when he had saved something from his income, he would remark, "I have just made ends meet." Later on, when he had increased his saving, he would remark, "I have just managed to pay for all I require." Finally, when he had saved a large surplus, he would remark, "Now I can just manage to get along pretty well." 9. 子是谓然有仆。子曰：数矣哉！然有曰：既数矣。又何加焉？曰：富之。曰：既富矣，又何加焉？曰：教之。When Confucius on his travels was on one occasion entering a certain state in company with a disciple who was driving the carriage for him, he remarked, "What a large population is here." With such a large population, asked the disciple, what should be done? Enrich them, answered Confucius. And after that, asked the disciple. Educate them, replied Confucius. 10. 子曰：苟有用我者，积月而已可也，3年有成。Confucius on one occasion remarked, "If I were given the conduct of the government of a country now, in 1 year I should have accomplished something. After 3 years, I should have put everything in order." 11. 子曰：善人为邦100年，亦可以胜残去杀矣。诚在是言也。Confucius went on to remark, "It is a common saying that if good honest men had the rule of a country for 100 years, they could make deeds of violence impossible and could thus dispense with capital punishment." It is a very true saying. 12. 子曰：如有王者，必事而后仁。Confucius finally remarked, if a really God-sent great man were to become emperor now, it would still take a generation before the people could be moral. 13. 子曰：苟正其身矣，于从政乎何有？不能正其身，如正人何？ Confucius remarked, if a man has really put his personal conduct in order, what is there in the government of a country that he should find any difficulty in it? But if a man has not put his personal conduct in order, how can he put in order the people of a country? 14. 然子退朝。子曰：何晏也？对曰：有政。子曰：其事也。如有政，虽不无矣，吾其欲闻之。On one occasion, when a disciple who was in official employment returned from the palace, Confucius said to him, Why are you so late? Oh, answered the disciple, we have just had stale affairs. You mean business? For if there had been state affairs, although I am not now in office, I should still have been consulted. Footnotes 64. Confucius was then a member of the state council. 15. 丁公问：以言而可以兴邦，有诸？孔子对曰：言不可以，若是其机也。人之言曰：为君难，为臣不易，如之为君之难也，不几乎一言而兴邦乎？曰：一言而丧邦，有诸？孔子对曰：言不可以，若是其机也。人之言曰：与无乐乎为君，为其言而莫于为也，如其善而莫之为也，不亦善乎？如不善而莫之为也，不几乎一言而丧邦乎？ The reigning prince of Confucius' native state inquired if the principle to make a country prosperous could be expressed in one single sentence. Confucius answered, One cannot expect so much meaning from a single sentence. There is, however, a saying which the people have. To be a ruler of men is difficult, and to be a public servant is not easy. Now if one only knew that it is difficult to be a ruler of men, would not that alone almost make a country prosperous? The prince then asked if the principle to ruin a country could be expressed in one single sentence. Confucius answered, So much meaning is not to be expected from one single sentence. There is, however, a saying among the people, I find none pleasure in being a ruler of men, except in that whatsoever I order no man shall oppose. Now if what is ordered is right, it is well and good that one oppose it. But if what is ordered is not right and no one opposes it, is not that alone enough to ruin a country? 16. 叶公问政。子曰：近者说，远者来。The prince of a small principality asked what was essential in the government of a country. Confucius answered, When there is good government in a country, the people at home are happy, and the people in other countries will come. 17. 子夏为举父载，问政。子曰：吾欲速，吾见小利。欲速，则不达；见小利，则大事不成。A disciple of Confucius, who was appointed chief magistrate of an important town, inquired what was essential in government. Confucius answered, Do not be in a hurry to get things done. Do not consider petty advantages. If you are in a hurry to get things done, things will not be done thoroughly and well. If you consider petty advantages, you will never accomplish great things. 18. 叶公与孔子曰：吾党有执公者，其父攘阳，而子正之。孔子曰：吾党之执者亦于是。父为子隐，子为父隐，执在其中矣。The reigning prince of a small principality said to Confucius, Among my people there are men to be found who are so upright that when a father steals a sheep, the son is ready to bear witness against him. In our country, replied Confucius, the upright men are different from that. They consider it consistent with true uprightness for a father to be silent regarding the misdeed of his son, and for a son to be silent concerning the misdeed of his father. 19. 樊迟问仁。子曰：居处恭，执事敬，与人忠，虽之夷狄，不可弃也。A disciple of Confucius inquired what was essential in a moral life. Confucius answered, In dealing with yourself, be serious. In business, be earnest. In intercourse with other men, be conscientious. Although you may be living among barbarians and savages, these principles cannot be neglected. 20. 子贡问曰：何如斯可谓之是矣？ 子曰：行己有耻，始于四方，不辱君命，可谓是矣。曰：敢问其次。曰：宗族称孝焉，乡党称弟焉。曰：敢问其次。曰：言必信，行必果，坑坑然小人哉！亦可以为次矣。曰：今之从政者何如？子曰：一，斗烧之人，何足算也。A disciple of Confucius inquired, What must one be in order to be considered a gentleman? Confucius answered, He must be a man of strict personal honor. When sent on a public mission to any country, he will not disgrace his mission. Such a man may be considered a gentleman. The disciple then asked for a type of gentleman next in degree to the one mentioned above. Confucius answered, One whom the members of his family hold up as a good son and his fellow citizens hold up as a good citizen. The disciple went on to ask for a type of gentleman still next in degree. Confucius answered, One who makes it a point to carry out what he says and to persist in what he undertakes, stubborn little gentleman though he is. Such a man may also be considered a type of gentleman next in degree. The disciple finally asked, saying, But now what is your opinion of the gentleman now in the public service? They are, replied Confucius, only red-taped bureaucrats not worth taking into account. Footnote 65. The Chinese expression for red tape is pegs and bumpers, from the fact that the duty of mere routine officers in ancient times was to weigh and measure the grain and other produce collected from the people. 21. 子曰：不得中行而与之，必也狂倦乎？狂者进取，倦者有所不为也。Confucius remarked, If I cannot find equitable and reasonable men to have to do with, upon necessity I would choose men of enthusiastic or even fanatical character. Enthusiastic men are zealous, and there are life always limit which fanatical men would not. Footnote 66. Literally dog, the Chinese character meaning a fierce, tenacious animal like the bulldog. In fact, man with a fixed idea. 22. 子曰：男人有言曰，人而无恒，不可以作巫医善服。不恒其德，或成之修。子曰：不战而已矣。Confucius remarked, The southern people have a saying, A man without perseverance cannot be a doctor or a magician. How true! Again, it is said in the I King, the reputation for a virtue once acquired unless persevered in will lead to disgrace. Commenting on this, Confucius remarked, It is much better not to assume the reputation for the virtue at all. Footnote 67. The great Chinese commentator, Chu Fu Su, gives up this last passage, saying that he does not understand it. We venture here to submit the above explanation of the passage as given in the translation. 23. 子曰：君子和而不同，小人同而不和。Confucius remarked, A wise man is sociable, but not familiar. A fool is familiar, but not sociable. 24. 子贡问曰：乡人皆好之，何如？子曰：未可也。乡人皆恶之，何如？子曰：未可也。不如乡人之善者好之，其不善者恶之。A disciple of Confucius inquired of him, saying, What do you say of a man who is popular with all his fellow townsmen in a place? He is not necessarily a good man, answered Confucius. What do you say then, asked the disciple, of a man who is unpopular with all his fellow townsmen? He is neither, replied Confucius, necessarily a good nor a bad man. A really good man is he who is popular with the good men of a place and unpopular with the bad men. 25. 子曰：君子易事而难说也，说之不以道，不说也，及其使人也，弃之。小人难事而易说也，说之虽不以道，说也，及其使人也，求备焉。Confucius remarked, A wise and good man is easy to serve, but difficult to please. If you go beyond your duty to please him, he will not be pleased. But in his employment of men, he always takes into consideration their capacity. A fool, on the other hand, is easy to please, but difficult to serve. If you go beyond your duty to please him, he will be pleased. But in his employment of men, he expects them to be able to do everything. 26. 子曰：君子泰而不骄，小人骄而不泰。Confucius remarked, a wise man is dignified, but not proud. A fool is proud, but not dignified. 27. 子曰：刚毅，木讷，近人。Confucius remarked, a man of strong, resolute, simple character approaches nearly to the true moral character. 28. 子路问曰：何如斯可谓之是矣？子曰：切切，斯斯，夷夷如也，可谓是矣。朋友切切，斯斯，兄弟夷夷。A disciple of Confucius inquired, what must a man be in order to be considered a gentleman? Confucius answered, he must be sympathetic, obliging and affectionate, sympathetic and obliging to his friends and affectionate to the members of his family. 29. 子曰：善人教民7年，亦可以及容矣。Confucius remarked, a good honest man, after educating the people for 7 years, will be able to lead them to war. 30. 子曰：以不教民战，是谓弃之。Confucius remarked, to allow people to go to battle without first instructing them is to betray them.